All right. Good day, good day, good day, and welcome back to the Legend Status podcast. And today I am joined with what I consider to be obviously a good friend, but also an inspiration and somebody who has really taken a not great situation and turned it to be incredible. Has not only found success in it, but has had an opportunity to help and develop young men and boys. My good friend, Mr. Kenneth Badger.
Hey, hey, hey.
Welcome, man, to the pod. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
A little
Thank you
bit of
for having
clapping,
me,
a little
bro.
bit of clapping.
Nice to see you. You're looking young as usual.
Hey, thank you, brother. So how you been, man? How's everything? Like you got a lot going on, obviously. So
Yeah, I'm good. I live out in Lloydminster now. Right now, I'm just out in Cold Lake. I just finished up a 2-day men's program out here for personal development and there's things that come with men's health, self care, and mental health and things like that. So yeah, just been pretty busy. Things are picking up here, especially in the summertime when the young kids, the teen boys and stuff have summer off, right? So been traveling. I got a little bit more traveling to do coming up. So yeah, just been keeping busy.
yeah, is that strategic that you try to have more sessions during the summer when the boys are off for the summer from school and stuff? Is that intentional, I guess?
It's sort of because like I said, they all the young boys and teens don't really want to do those type of programs on their weekends off. So
Right.
it's better to really have them during the school holidays, summertime, and things like that. So it works out for them too. So then so they have something to do as well, right, during the summer and things like that. But mainly I just go when I can, and more of the during the winters is like men's programs, but also teen programs when we can slide it in there.
Right. Nice. And yeah, before we get too deep, why don't we get a quick introduction and background for everybody listening? Tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously, I know it well because we grew up together. Tell us about the background. Tell us about the challenges that you've faced growing up. And then, of course, we can tie that into how the program came about.
Yeah, no problem. So, well, as a young man, I was raised by a single mother in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. My mom was a residential school runaway, right? So she was 17 when she went to Saskatoon, ran away from St. Michael's residential school in Duck Lake, and coming to the city by herself. Her sister was there, so she went to go bunk in with her and stay with her and help her with, certain things around the house as my auntie was in a wheelchair. At the age of 17, that year she got pregnant with me, right? And she met my dad, and she got pregnant and had me at the age of 17. She was struggling right off the start, and imagine having a baby at the same time. So, things were pretty tough for her, and my uncle, thankfully, and his wife were able to kind of take me in as a child for the first 3 years of my life, where I lived in Loon Lake, Saskatchewan. And eventually, my mom felt like she was ready to take on the challenges of having me in the city with her. With that, she had my sister, who's a couple years younger than me. So imagine being 20 years old, having two kids, trying to get your life
Goodness.
started again, and dealing with addiction. She dealt with drinking and a little bit of the drug scene, and having two crazy kids, and a low income. She was always on social assistance at the time. Trying to get her life going, just it was a tough time, right? From there, I just kind of was in and out of you know being bad and trying to do good in school at the same time. But some of the areas we lived in, it's just some of the friends I had just kind of got me into trouble quite a bit. And I did go to a school called St. Mary's on Avenue O and 20th Street in Saskatoon. So they had a good food program. They had things that taught us about culture as well. And that's one of the biggest things that kind of helped me through as a young man, right? To guide me into the better parts of life and show me what our culture is really all about. From there, I went on to go to high school, obviously, and I started getting into trouble and things. And you're around, and we did a little bit of trouble and played, but we also played a lot of sports, right? We always were at the park hooping it up. And eventually we got a place up in Confederation with this low income housing, and it's called SAS Native Rental. So moving to from the hood up into Confederation was like a dream come true for a guy like me coming from down there or down in the hood where it's crime all everywhere you walk, and just seeing things that I seen. And so I was thankful, and but I was still bad at the same time. A lot of the time I took a lot of my anger out on my mom, not thinking about where she came from, how she was raised and the tough times that she went through. So I kind of started playing sports. Sports was my outlet. I played basketball, I played football, I played fastball, all those things that kept me busy. And from there, I went on to graduate high school. I don't know how I did it, but I did it right, and I had 24 credits right on the dot. And then after high school, I was able to take my talents in football because I got pretty good at football in high school. I was the team captain for a couple years. I was MVP of my team and offensive lineman of the year type thing, and I got scouted to go play at the Saskatoon Hilltops. Right, and
Cool.
yeah, Saskatoon Hilltops was kind of the big thing for a kid like me coming out of Saskatoon, watching them as a kid. And when we'd go with the youth center and watch a couple games of there or the Yellow Jackets baseball team or something like that, right? And so you dream about that if, once you're playing the sport, right? Like, oh, I'm going to make Hilltops. And I did. So it was one of those good times in my life. And I started on the line, and we won a championship. But sometimes when with sports, there's celebrations, right? And we won a lot with the Saskatoon Hilltops, and we were a winning team. And when you celebrate, you go to the bar sometimes with the buddies or a house or whatever. And so I got into drinking pretty deeply in my time with the Hilltops there, and kind of slid off into the wrong crowd type thing, got into some drugs, just testing everything out and not thinking about it, just being that young football star type I thought I
Mm-hmm,
was.
mm-hmm.
And,
Caught in the lifestyle, right?
yeah, a little too much. So a couple friends, after 3 years of doing that, playing there and getting into trouble, and I've, kind of got into to the thinking of that I was a gangster type, bad guy, and I didn't think anybody could hurt me type thing. And it was getting pretty bad to the point where a couple friends, kind of reminded me, where I was with the football team. And those are the type of friends you need, right? And even though they were going through the same lifestyle I was, they understood that I had something, right? I had a talent, I had a football talent, and it could take me places, right? So that being said, they sat there and talked to me, and I've never wanted to to come to the point where I'd leave a team that I worked so hard to become part of, right? Win a championship with, and but sometimes that's what you got to do, to get back your life and get back what I was doing so well. Staying in Saskatoon, it was just negative for me. So I got up, packed up my bags. A couple of my buddies, bros, drove me out to Kelowna, BC. I went to start to play football there, and same division as the Hilltops, just in the BC league, right? Being there was it was a beautiful city. Obviously, it's really nice, and they call it Party City too. But I was able to control myself, right? Because for one, I didn't want to let down my friends, my family, the ones that seen that I was going through those tough times, right? So I kept it good. I was doing good there. I played there a couple years. We made it to the championship 2 years in a row where we sadly lost, but I was able to pick up an All Canadian award and top offensive lineman in the BCFC league. That was big. It's kind of a big deal for me, being the top lineman of my position in
Yeah,
all of Canada. Right?
that's a big deal for anyone, man.
And
That's
then
awesome.
I was so happy and proud, and I had my talent back. I had my life back. I was doing what I was made to do, right? And that was being the best at what I could do and winning awards again, right? So that was a problem in my life right there. That being said, I went back to Saskatoon. I was getting scouted by universities all over Canada, some down south, and eventually I just wanted to stay out in BC because I didn't want to I was still weak. I was still weak inside. I know if somebody was to offer me something, I probably wouldn't resist. Right? And
Yeah.
that that winter, I had off there, the summer there before I went to school, and the school I picked was Simon Fraser in Vancouver. Went out to celebrate my accomplishments, right? Thinking I'd be okay, and thinking that that past is the past, and I'd never get back into that. Look where I'm at now. You know what I
Right.
mean? I've got
Like
these
you've overcome
awards.
it.
I'm on top of the mountain, and I went out, and I started drinking, and I lost it. I stay sober. Once that drink hit my lips, I listen to people telling that story all the time, and it's so true, man. Like once you get into those couple drinks, and then for me, it was I couldn't have just beer, right? There had to be drugs with it too, right? So as soon as I started drinking again, I started doing the drugs. Fell into a deep rut to a point where I was working for, people selling drugs and things that I never thought I would do, fighting people all the time, trying to be intimidating. And then I was just in that summer and I was just like, how did I get to this place so fast? Like from where I was 2 months ago, the high life I was living, and the how proud I was of to where I got 2 years being away from the drugs and alcohol, and winning those awards, and then boom, you're just right back to where you were. And sadly, I couldn't shake it. I went back to BC. I still stuck with the University of Simon Fraser. I went up there. I had everything set up. My reserve, Mr. Wasis, who I'm proud to be from, helped me out in so many ways to get out there as well. Paid for my schooling and I was on a full ride scholarship. So I was okay, right?
Hmm.
I wasn't gonna be a struggling student. I'd be okay out there, with the help of, the people that were part of my life. But like I said, I couldn't shake it. I started going to school. I was doing good for the first couple of months, just kind of easing through it. And eventually I fell off hard, 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 like where I was drinking every day behind the scenes. I wasn't showing up for school because if you went to university that they don't do your attendance, and my coaches didn't seem to think that I was the type of guy to miss school, so they didn't really question me on it. But in reality, I was missing quite a bit because of my drinking. And people talk about East Hastings and everything and how scary it is, and which it is. It's a scary place, but that's where I'd go because I didn't know anybody, right? And I met this guy named Lightspeed, and he like hooked me up with whatever I needed, and it was just. And how did I get there? Like, why did I go there? And that's what I think, and I see videos on the internet of East Hastings, and I just remember myself down there. I stick out. I'm a big dude. You know what I mean? And I was in shape, and I didn't look like I belonged there, right? But I was sitting there. I was high on whatever, or I'd go into one of the lounges there and just hide and play VLTs and drink and waste all my school money and all that things that just bring trauma and bring negativity to your life when you're trying to do good, right? And it just slows you down to the point to where you fall apart. And I did. I got kicked off the team. I wasn't able to play again. So what am I doing? I'm leaving school and I'm coming back to Saskatoon, right? And that's the place that I want to go. But obviously, your home's your home. You always go back. You know what I mean? And but you move and then you can always go back to where you're from. That being said, I got back into the working force. I'm a big dude. I just put myself into like blue collar jobs. With blue collar jobs, you work long hours, you work long days, long shifts, 14, 21 days straight, and you get fatigued, right? And adding booze and all that other stuff to it the night after work when you work so hard that beer tastes so good to you at the time and you're just like, ooh. And like I said before, if I had beer, I had to have other stuff, right? So it was just an ugly cycle of what I was doing for about 10 years. And when you're in that lifestyle and when you're living like that, you forget about a lot of people, a lot of things that mean lots to you, right? So I wasn't really engaging with my family much, especially my family in Mistawasis, my reserve. They used to put on like banquets for me, things that supported me and made me go hard. Like, and I was a role model, right? So coming from what happened to me and losing my scholarship and all that, I was embarrassed. For one, for letting down my family, my friends, the ones that helped me, and for letting down myself. Like getting back into the alcohol and drugs and in back into that rut. And I couldn't believe that I did, and I just couldn't get out. I was stuck in it for about 10 years, and every day had, hate to say, but I had dealers on site that would sell to me, and I had buddies at work that were doing it with me. It was just like it was my new crowd, and it was,
Your identity
yeah,
almost,
my
right?
new
Yeah.
identity, right? And it was easy to do work. It was easy to stay up because I was high at work, but at the same time, I wasn't thinking about the men around me because I ran heavy equipment, right? And at most of these bigger sites, I would do zoom boom, and I would do lifts of pipe or transformers. And imagine if one of those fell on somebody or killed them, or you see those type of things all the time in that industry. And when you're dealing with heavy things and equipment, and I could have went to jail because I would have got a piss test. I would have all that negative stuff that really could have sent me even down further in the hole in that rut, right?
What was the like, man, there's honestly, you telling me that just from the beginning, because there's a lot there that I didn't even know. Like, I
Mm.
didn't know about Kelowna, I didn't know about Vancouver, I didn't know about East Hastings. I know we were probably knew each other in high school, and then after that, it sort of got blurry, and then we probably reconnected back in Saskatoon. But can we go back to that for a moment? When you were in and I say this often to people like and young people that I try to mentor as well, is it's all fun and games in the celebratory times, but it's sort of what you're left with at the end of it. And there's so many young people that get caught in the addictions after the celebration is over, and it's the people who want to party past a certain
Yeah.
time or want to keep the party going throughout the week, and I find that it happens a lot to young, successful and talented people that sort of get lost in that and don't necessarily have that driving person that goes, whoa, that's enough, or hey, why are you doing too much, or hey, don't forget the reason why you're here is because of all the work that you did here. So was there nobody in your life at that time that could give you that guidance, or did you leave a lot of them in Saskatoon, or yeah, like, was there anybody in your life that was there to sort of tell you to stop, or did you kind of just leave them if there was?
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the thing that us men deal with is like stigma, right? The stigma of not being able to ask for help, not being vocal about your issues and about your problems. Obviously, I had my buddies there that took me out to Kelowna and that helped me out through those times, but I even hid it from them. I didn't want to embarrass myself to them as well because they put their time and effort into helping me get to where I was at the point, right? And I was always raised by women most of my life, with the help of my uncle and his wife. But my uncle and his wife weren't always there. As my mom, my cookum, and my aunties, and sort of what would you say, quieter about my own problems because
So do you find
I was always helping them through things, and helping with my mom and my little sister. I didn't really share my issues too much because I didn't think they're needed because my sister and my mom and them were going through so much more. You know what I mean? And it's something that I regret because maybe it could have helped me even more. Like back then, maybe I'd be in the CFL, or maybe I'd be, doing something greater. But I'm happy where I'm at right now. No, don't get me wrong, but like just thinking about that of
there's some what ifs? There's
what
some what
ifs if
ifs.
I what
Yeah.
if I what if I spoke? What if I wasn't embarrassed? What if I didn't care if people what they thought about me? You know what I mean? Like that's one of the biggest things that us, it's with men and women. You think about, a lot of people think about what people care about you, and in a different way. Like, obviously people care about you in a nice way, but you want to, you don't want to like embarrass yourself, and that's where I was at, right? Was I didn't want to ask for help. I didn't want to go get help. I didn't want people to know that I needed help. So I was very good at hiding things, right? And when you're in those addictions, you become very good at it, right? And I would go to my Christmas, dinners at my family's, and I was high out of my tree, and I'd be able to hide it, right? Like, I would be high on cocaine, and you know, my family knew I drank, but they didn't know I did the drugs, right? And so just through that was a lonely time in my life because I didn't do that.
You weren't able to share that. Do you think that, do you think, and it's no question that you've become a great man through that process, but do you think some of that would have been different with like a more prominent, present male role model in your life at that time? Do you think that would have made the difference? Because you talked about having like a lot of females around you. And do you feel that today that's part of the role that you want to play for others as well, or?
Well, yeah, I want to. My dad wasn't around. Like I said, my uncle was there for a little bit of the part of my life, and he would come around when I was being bad and at
Right.
school and ground me, and then he would leave, and then I would manipulate my mom, and I'd be back out on the streets, and he would be gone because he was a working man, right? He was a teacher, and that's why I had a lot of respect for him, and for him and his wife. They gave me the time out of their daily life to help me, right? And that's right. Like, I believe if I had my, like, a male figure like that was always like how I am with my stepson right now. I'm always around, and now he's
Hmm.
working, he's doing this, he graduated, and he was missing school and all this stuff and he had his mom was a busy lady with work and stuff, right? So being a single mother as well, so I understood what he needed too, right? And something that I needed as a young man was that push, because like I said, I was easily to manipulate my mom, and things that, especially in high school, when I would lie. I was a straight up liar, and I'd get my way, right? And I guarantee you, if I had a father figure or somebody there, it'd slap me outside the head and tell me to quit lying. And so, yeah, it affected me, but I learned to kind of just be alone and be by myself a lot. And without a father, my mom, she wasn't one of those type of mothers that ever had a vehicle or ever had a ride to go places. So I was always playing sports alone, and I always signed myself up for sports, worked my bingos and things like that. So just learning those type of things on my own was how I was raised. And then along the way, helping my mother and my auntie and my cookum, right? And through, them dealing with their problems and the things that we were raised up in, being on the reserve, my cookum, and she had an alcohol addiction, so it was a tough time, but I was thankful that I did get to where I was, without a father figure, to who I
No
am
question.
today.
Well, and there's no question that mothers, aunties, even sisters play such a, like, I don't have a sister personally, but my mother is a very strong, strong personality. But there is something to be said about a guy knowing a guy, like a father knowing that, hey, he's probably up to something, or hey, there's
Well,
something
that's
here more to investigate, right? So
oh my
when you're
gosh.
talking about your stepson,
Oh my
you just
gosh,
know
that
things.
guy! I see everything, man. I see everything that little bugger does, but he's learning, and he's a big boy, and all the manipulating he tries to do with his mom. Hey, hey,
Yeah,
hey, hey! I know
yeah, I
that one.
got you.
No, not today, bud. But yeah, I know.
So
But I love him like he's my own, right? And I just
no,
want him to do
incredibly,
well, yeah. And I want him
yeah,
to, understand that I'm here for you. Even though your dad's not around, I can step in and, like my uncle did for me, and kind of guide him into the right direction. And I know the right direction from life experiences, right?
that's
And
right.
so he's doing well, man, and I'm proud
It's
of that. Yeah,
Has he embraced that, or is there still some defiance or
man,
reluctance?
One thing I appreciate about him is that he tells me he loves me all the time, right? Like, whew, like that's hard. It's hard to say, but like emotionally for me because
Take a moment, man.
I never had that growing up, right? I
For
never
sure.
had only my uncle when he come around, but that father son relationship to where we tell you you love each other all the time, right? And that's one thing with him is that he shows his emotions. He tells me he loves me all the time, and he waits until I tell him I love him, you know. So and with his,
He
and
doesn't let you off.
that's not just with me, but that's with his mom and his cookum and his mushum, and he's very affectionate that way. And who knows if he would have been if if I wasn't around, or like, because he could have some issues, or he could be, because back when he was 12 is when I came into his life. He was pretty just do what he want type of kid, right? And he's a gamer, and he ate his mom was working all the time cutting hair, so she's just give him some tip money and go get yourself something to eat, type
Right.
deal. So he was spoiled type in that aspect, though. Just bringing him back down to earth, and raising him to be a working man. If you're not going to go to college or whatever, you get to work. You're not going to sit around type thing, and he understands everything about that. Like, right now, he's working as a swamper on a hot shot, like in the oil field. So he's
Goodness. Yeah.
making some damn good cash at a young age. He's 19, right? And he's watching us as we blossom in what we're doing with our earnings, and investing in things like a gym, and other things for our business and things like that, right? So yeah, man, I know for a fact that he's happy that he has that leadership and with me and being in part of his life, and I'm thankful for that too, right? Because as you could see, I love him, and you tear up to talking about him, and it's just that's how it is. I
There's no
couldn't be
better
any more
feeling.
happier with him, and I still give him hard times, right? He's 19, he's still living at home, and
Yeah.
he's trying to get a vehicle, and I'm helping him out with that, and who knows if what he's going to get up to, but I know it's going to be something bright, man. And he doesn't drink, he doesn't do drugs like his parents,
Nice.
right? And that's what it's about.
Well, congratulations, man.
Mm.
That I think, moving into some of the other stuff we're going to talk about of what the modern world sort of considers to be success. I think personally, I think that is success, is having, one, people who are not afraid to love, and you not being afraid to love. Like, as men, I agree with you. There are certain things that stopped us from having those conversations. Even, dude, I tell people this all the time. I don't think my father ever told me he loved me until I was like 25.
Mm.
And it's kind of weird, and it's great to have him because, again, my father's the strong, silent type, but he knew the shit that we were doing, and he knew when we lied, and he knew that
Yeah.
we needed a good smack in the ass or a smack upside the head. And I think when, even for your stepson, I bet when he was younger, it was about the things that he wanted. Like, I want this and I want that. And he probably got it because he understood how to manipulate and play those. There's a huge level of change when leadership does come into your life and go, no, 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 no. This is how you should be living, and this is what you need to be doing. And I know this is difficult, but this is actually what you need now in your life, not just games and, junk food and stuff like that. So I'm sure he will appreciate that. So, we've had a chance to talk about the upbringing. You know what? I appreciate the detail in that because that really brings light, to sort of the importance. I didn't know about the hilltops. I didn't know about the success in football. I knew you were a great player, and I think I'd even been over at your house one day and saw a lot of the awards and stuff. So, what was the turning point, man? Was there an event, or was there something that just hit you and went, man, I got to make a change. Like, I got to do this, or something happened that made you go, yeah, it's time to be
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Well, when you're in that lifestyle of what the lifestyle I was in, there's parts that go wrong. There's times where you're so high that you're looking for another high, and that's where I was at. I was shaking down guys from some drug dealers that I need to get drugs off of. I was lying to everybody. I was lying to I met my wife when I was 35, and I was still in my addictions, and I was lying to her. when you do meet that one, the one in your life, feel that love and that care like that my wife that showed me at the time and still to this day. But being with her, we did drink and do drugs the first. Well, I did drugs, she didn't, but we drank together for the first 2 years of our relationship. And I hid my drug addiction. I was still working out in the oil field with Husky Oil. I'd go to work, I'd be doing drugs all day at work, and then I'd come home and drink it down so I wouldn't look like what they would call it, a Hector. And then, and I would drink until I fell asleep. And then it would be the next day. I'd be going back to work 4:30 in the morning. It was crazy. It was just we were drinking all the time, and like I said, she would always have her tip money, and we'd buy booze right after work, and it was just getting to the point to where we started to argue a lot more and more, right? And like I said, when you have that one in your life, and I knew right then, I knew when I met her, and we kind of helped each other when we first started dating. She was helping me, and I was helping her through things, and that's what it's about. And so we started talking, like, we need to quit. We have so much potential. Like, she has so much potential in hair and makeup. I had so much potential in whatever I did, because I always tried 110% at a lot of things I did with work or with sports. And so we came up with a deal, and she threw me this one paper this one day, and it was just a little colorful paper. I actually got it here. Let's grab it quick.
Yeah.
So she threw me this paper, right? She's been doing makeup and everything, and I believe she's quit a little bit before me and started thinking about her career a little bit more. And so she threw me this paper the one day, and she's like, you know what? Like, write some goals down. Write some goals down on that paper, and maybe hang it up somewhere. So to remind you, hang it by your chair where you always sit and watch football, or hang it in your closet where you always see it when you're getting ready. So I threw it back at her, and I was like, I ain't gonna do that. I don't believe in that type of stuff. And then she's like, no, and threw it back at me. She's like, just try it out, give it a shot. And I said, so I did. And she's like, draw pictures or put things on there. I was like, no, I don't have time for that. And then she's like, okay, just write your goals down. And I said, so I did. Just kind of little things like work on your health, be happy, be more outgoing, be a better partner and dad to my stepson. Get down to 250 pounds, which I haven't been since I was probably 11 years old.
Same.
So,
My
like,
goal went up actually. I was like 250, now it's 270.
so those were like some really realistic goals for myself, right? And I didn't put on there be a millionaire, or I didn't put on there buy a big truck. I put on there the things that I really, really wanted to do for myself. Work on my health, be happy. And when you do work on your health, the happiness comes, man. So it's part of all my goals. And so I put it on my wall, and eventually I just started checking them off. It kind of gave me that inspired me to, like, hey, maybe it's time to put down the booze. Like, you want to stay with your my wife now, but at the time your girlfriend, you want to be with this woman forever. She's the one. So you need to change, and she's already changing for you. She's already putting in her time to make herself better for you. So why aren't you? You know what I mean? So, but I said to myself, okay, this is it. This is the turning point. This is what I wanted to do. And what helped me was, a lot of people go to rehab and all that stuff. And I don't, that's awesome if you can take yourself there. But for me, it only took like to read a book. And so I read this book, and this lady from BC, she's going through the same things as me, and the same struggles and up and down life because of these struggles. And at the end, she wrote books. She's doing all these great things, and I was like, I can do that. I have that vision of helping and getting better now. I have a vision board too, right? So I'm like, it's time, man, and I want to be with my wife. I want to be with her, and So I just hung him up, and it was hard. Obviously, it was tough. I used to drink every night and let's drink myself to sleep. So I was trying to find my sleeping pattern. I was trying to wake up early without alarm clock. I was trying to get some walks in the morning, doing those things to make me feel better rather than being hungover and getting up for work and things like that. When we got sober, it was like night and day plans, and you know ideas just kept coming to me, like, okay, I'm doing good now. I'm gonna get back working, good job, and I'm gonna work my way up in anything I do. I have this drive now. I've always done it everywhere I've been. Like, I've worked up north, and even though I had my addictions, I could always work myself up to a foreman position, or you know what I mean. And now I'm sober, so I'm gonna go extra hard, right? I'm gonna
And you got
do what I
clarity, right?
can. I'm gonna become who I want to be, and I always had an idea with my wife when when I was at work, I was always thinking, or wherever, I was just always thinking, right? And now I'm gonna, do it, right? I'm not gonna procrastinate. I'm not gonna let
Mm-hmm.
anything hold me down, like drugs and alcohol. Being afraid to go do things, because I was always afraid to like do new things, right? you
Yeah.
you get comfortable with your life in certain areas, like I was with drugs and alcohol and just working. I was comfortable there doing that, right? But I always heard, like, you got to become uncomfortable sometimes to become successful, right? And one of my plans with my wife was, her company's called Beauty Life. She's always had her company for, I think it was 20 years now. She's always done makeup and hair. Her story is an incredible story as well. And she's always done makeup and hair, and beauty life. Beauty life. I always thought about that. It would be awesome. I'm like, I'm a big dude. A lot of my friends back home called me Silverback or Gorilla, and I said, why don't I call myself the Beast? Beauty Life and the Beast. And I said, if Lakeland College opens up this barber program, because they always had a hair program, but they never had a barber
Right.
program. I said, if Lakeland opens up this, and they're gonna open up this barber program, they got to. I was just thinking, manifesting it, and I'll take it. I'll take the program. I'll drop my tools. I'll drop my equipment. I'll go to school, and I'll take the barber program. And of course, she's like, we don't. I don't think they will, and you know what? Let's just manifest it. And so we did, and sure enough, that, no word of a lie, that year they sent out a paper saying, we're opening up a barbers, we're adding barbering to our program. And when I seen that, like, of course my eyes are big, like, holy man, it happened, like, it's coming true. It's, what we manifested. And so that was a good feeling to see that. But there was still some work to do, right? I had to get funding. I had to do a new math class that I had to take, because when I went to university, I went as an athlete, and you can get in as a mature student, and I took unclassified studies, just classes that I could
Right.
hopefully get through university, right? Because I wasn't a very smart man, and with the books, anyways. And then with that, so I had to do a math. I went took the math, very afraid, because I was scared about, like, algebra or whatever, but it was just simple math, and it was I think it was grade 10 or 11. I passed it, right, Lakeland. With that, I quit the mining, because I was doing potash mining when I was my final year of drinking. I was in the potash mining, and I quit that job, right? And I just did that test. As soon as I passed it, I was able to enroll, but I still had to pay the $12,000. My reserve, they help out students with funding, but the funding ends in May. So you have to have all your applications in and all that stuff. And May was already passed. I was already in July. I was just thankful. So I went and talked to Lakeland. Thankfully, the great people at Lakeland College, we came up with an idea to, if I can't, afford it, I could pay it off as I go, right? And if the reserve can't help me, then, I'd be able to pay it off in other ways, right? But thankfully, I talked to the reserve, got back to me. It's at the start there is like it's too late, but a couple weeks later, after a bunch of praying and meditating and all that manifesting,
Mm-hmm.
and it all came to, they called me and they let me know that, hey, we have some extra money here. We want to help you out. You've taken your heavy equipment before. You made it through. There's other things, tickets you took that you showed up for, and so we know that you're going to do this, right? And they believed in me,
That's
and
incredible.
yeah, and they gave me the opportunity, right? And they paid for my fee for the $12,000 for the barbering. So I didn't get a living allowance or anything. I'm thankful I had my wife, and she really hunkered down and worked hard for us for those 5 months that I was in school. And so taking a barbering school is 4 to 5 months, right? So she took care of me, right? And that's right then and there. Even then, there I knew that she was my. And I asked her to marry me, and that year, same year, and it just went from there with her. So now we're beauty, life, and the beast.
That's an incredible story, man. Why did you choose barbering?
I chose barbering because I loved what she was doing. My wife, she does hair and makeup, right? So she travels around to different communities. She doesn't cut hair in Lloydminster. She just doesn't do makeup in Lloydminster. She travels. So she was doing these programs, her beauty life programs, where she would go around and help women around different in different communities, reserves, in some towns and things like that sometimes, and teaching them basic makeup, and things like giving them haircuts, coloring their hair, and watching these women come from these programs that my wife was putting on was just nothing but joy, nothing but happiness, and they get to learn new things. Even if they don't go on with it, they still get to learn new things about hair and makeup for themselves or their kids or whatnot, right? And to make other people feel better or feel good, because you do feel good after you get pampered, like
No question.
get a
A nice
haircut
haircut.
or get some makeup done for the ladies. So I was watching these ladies come out of that program, and just the happiness, the smiles, and it gave me the idea of maybe I shouldn't just cut hair. Maybe I should travel with my wife. Maybe I should share my story, right? Maybe I should become something like a personal development coach or something, right? And it just more and more things just started coming
Just
to
kept
my head,
morphing. Yeah.
right? And it just from watching those ladies leave that class, right? So from there, I just kept coming up with ideas and coming up with you know, educating myself. Me and my wife, we took CanFit Pro personal trainer program. She took some nutrition. We took our mental health course together. Like we just kept adding things, and I kept understanding more and more of some of the issues that us men face, right? And I faced a lot of them. I checked off a lot of those checks that were on there, and I was like, you know what? Like I've overcome a lot of that. And how did I overcome it? Was just staying on track, staying on a routine, staying believing in whatever I believed. So for me, I use our medicine wheel as my guideline. So the culture with our medicine wheel is mental, spiritual, physical, emotional. And each one of those I try to check off every day, right? To learn to teach myself about how to share if I have any emotions at the time, not hold it in. Try to take care of my health by going for a walk, physical, right?
Hmm.
Spiritual. Every morning I smudge, right? That's my spiritual, my culture. I'm thinking about, getting back into singing. I used to sing power when I was younger, and my wife's, gonna get back into dancing, and it's just that's our spiritual part, right? So it's just there's so many things that you could do to help yourself, and some of our men don't know that.
No
Some of our
question.
men haven't been taught how to really take care of themselves. Whether it's hygiene, whether it's haircut, or even our feet. Like we walk on our feet every day. We work hard on our feet every day. Sometimes your feet need a little bit of taking care of itself, right? So going to like a pedicure, or sometimes I bring ladies to my programs to do massages, or like it's about taking care of yourself and making yourself feel better, and makes life a lot easier, and easier, not easy, but a little bit easier to get away from the negative stuff, right? That follows you around,
No
and
question.
but a lot of us been through a lot, right? But there's always that other side, the good side, and
Sure.
that's what I
Taking care of
spread, right?
yourself.
Yeah.
So tell us, I want to get back to a couple things. What was the book that you read? You said you read a book from a
I'll
lady
show
out in
you.
BC. Sure.
I thought I had it in my thing, but it's called "Calling My Spirit." Calling my spirit back, actually, and it's a lady, and she's had written another book too. This is the other book, Coming of Age, right? And Alien Alec. So she's from BC, and she's a native from around Kamloops area there, and she wrote that book, and it just, I sat there and I laid like I sit on my armchair there and I'd read it a little bit at a time. I'm one of those guys that I can't keep still. I got to keep doing things. So I'll try to read it whenever I could, right? And eventually I was sitting there for like 20 minutes at a time, and it just kept getting longer because I was so interested in her life and in how her struggles were. Like, women have some pretty crazy struggles at times. They had a tough life, and whether it's having kids or raising them on their own, or being abused or whatnot. When it just gave me so much inspiration on where she is now and how she got there. And when I never read a book, to be honest. I never finished or read a book or finished it before that book. Like, even
Yeah,
in
that's
school,
incredible.
like when I was in school, we'd have to read novels or whatever. I wouldn't read nothing, I just copy off my friends and and barely get by with 50s, and it's just, I didn't have no drive when I was in high school. So being 36, 35 now, at the time, reading a book for the first time, I was like, okay, this book kind of means something to me, right? And my wife and her follow each other on TikTok, I believe. Um, and they kind of, my wife kind of had a conversation with her and let her know that how I was able to finish her book and that I connected with her story. And
Yeah.
she sent me a brand new book with a letter in there. And that was a good feeling because it shows how her book can help people and can help others, right? And that's kind of what inspired me of just telling my story, getting my story out there, because a lot of us have similar stories as men, and when not just in the native culture, but in any culture, in any life's daily things for men, right? So
Well, it's just not shared enough. I think this is really, in my opinion, a very important conversation because not only for the people who follow and support you, but you're right, it is throughout every culture, throughout generations and generations of people who have not had the opportunity essentially to share their story, to talk about it, and I'll tell you, man, like when I think about it from a cultural perspective, I remember going to different ceremonies, from funerals to weddings, to that completely different worlds. Like my family's from Laos, and on this side is a completely different culture, but have so many similarities in the way that they do things.
yes,
But we're always taught to not talk about religion or not talk about, certain things in our life. And then of course male trauma and issues. But we come to find after we do share them and talk about those things that there's so many that people have in common, right?
oh
So
yeah,
that's a big reason, partly why I'm doing this, but also to really see and just to open that door. Like, I went to a friend's wedding one time, and they were doing, there were some small differences, but other than that, everything was the same in ours. And my wife is from Nepal, and there's so many similarities in their culture to ours. It's just these weird things that we never have a chance to talk about. But let's talk about the program. What is the program? What obviously it's geared towards young boys, men, teenagers. What is the program like? What does it consist of? Let's talk about it also from like a business standpoint. Clearly,
Mhm.
you're making some money. Are you putting that money back into the community, back into the program? Are you like, and you talked about investing. Like, walk me through some of that stuff.
The program is called the Beast Barber Men's Self Care Program and Personal Development. Basically, what I do is I travel to different communities, telling my story, and then working with the men or the youth, teen youth, on developing themselves into something that they want to be, or getting out of the rut that they're in. It could be hygiene, it could be anything that deals with men, mental health, physical, things like that. And it's more to inspire and to uplift our men and our young men into doing their goals, into getting some of their goals down. Like we do vision boards, things like that, just to remind them that they have goals. They have goals too, and nobody's gonna forget about that, right? And putting it on paper and talking about it. We in these classes, like yesterday and the day before, sometimes only a couple guys come, and it's because of that stigma, right? Of I don't need that, I don't need that help. But those couple of guys yesterday, we had full out conversations about life, about what real communication is, I like to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real connection on
Right.
things that, and there is so much similarities to my life, and letting it out and being able to talk on a good note, right? Not on negative, but on good note. And then teaching at the same time, right? I have my own program on my laptop. We go over and give them examples. I give them answers to some of the things that might help them, right? So it's just really pushing out the positivity and for men taking care of themselves and to developing themselves into what they want to become. Life is life, and you can become something if you really work hard for it. I'm a pure example of that, of developing myself into a barber and, into somebody that's been able to go do work in Northwest Territories. Lutsuke, I've been all over Alberta, Saskatchewan. I'm looking to, branch that out more, right? And investing money into shirts and giving
Yep.
these guys shirts. And one thing that's part of my program is I give them kits are what, like gym bags, everything they need for hygiene, whatnot, shakers and health stuff and vitamins and things that I feel that can give them that extra push and that to take care of themselves inside and out, right? So yeah. And then with the like helping, where I put my money is give money out to athletes and things like that, like sponsorship. And even my nephew here, he just graduated not too long. I give him a bag and some cash because he's going to Arizona and he's going for basketball. Positive things, right? And then investing into our own shop right now. We just moved back. We were living in Onion Lake, Saskatchewan, where we had a shop and a gym, and right now we moved back to Lloyd, so now we're looking for a place to put all our stuff, like a business type, right? And so it's, we were only doing it 2 years, but we've come a long way to where we've been able to invest in our gym equipment, and that's not cheap, if you know what I
Oh, no
mean. Like
question.
per pound, it's like $2, or nowadays,
Yeah.
anyways. You try buy 1,000 pounds of weights and it's like $2,000. You know what I mean? And then plus the equipment that go with it. And so, and then also our barber shop and our hairstyling. We invested all our money into that, and now we have a full out everything we need, right? And it's just now it's a place to put it. So saving money for that in town, and to get our we went looked at a couple places, and just helping out with other little things like draws and kids in Onion Lake for the sports. Like we invested a little bit of money, and you helped out with some bags and things like that, right? And
Nice.
for the youth, yeah, and sports and things like that, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, man. Good for you. There's no better feeling than one, doing well and accomplishing, but then turning around and being able to give back to uh, people like yourself who are in
Yeah.
that position, right?
Well, and like coming where we came from, and where we had no money and where we were broke, and like, and you've seen me when I was younger, like I never had ever money, and like I was always borrowing money and working little check to check little jobs, and now I'm able to share and to help out even with my family when they're in need. I try my best, right? And it's a great feeling for real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing like it, man. Um, so sorry, why Lloyd? Is that just home now to you? Do you guys feel that that's the place that you're wanting to settle?
Well, Onion Lake is where my wife is from, and
Oh, okay.
Onion Lake is about half hour from Lloydminster. So that's mainly where she lived all her life. So that's her hometown, and I don't mind it there. Worked when I was working for Husky Oil. That's where I moved, and I love it. It's just enough. It's not too big. Like these big cities
Yeah,
are getting too much people, and they're a little bit chaotic. And I'm more of at my age. I'm like I just want to relax and do my thing and drive somewhere in 10 minutes, not 40 minutes. And I like it there. Lloyd's a good place.
Good. Going back to the program, so it looks like you have obviously a wellness portion of it. You have a goal setting and maybe a spiritual and mental portion of it. Do you have a financial literacy, or do you talk about business with them? Do you talk about, things like that as well?
For sure. I talk about financial literacy and ways of learning how to spend your money wisely, right?
Right.
When you get a
Budgeting,
check,
things like
not
that.
just blowing it, and things like that. So stigma, communications, routines, introduction to coping strategies, healthy ways to handle stress, the power of positive talk, goal making, vision boards type deal. I get into a little bit of the financial literacy on like how I talk about how when I used to make money, how I was living check to check and getting money mart loans, and
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
big thing. Like in that, and when you have addictions, you seem like you work so hard and you get good paychecks, but you're still broke and you're still having to borrow money from like Money Mart, right? So healthy relationships, self-care, resilience. I give fresh haircuts for the guys that want them after our program. While they're doing like their vision boards, I'll get a couple guys in there, cut their
Nice.
hair, give them a nice clean fade or whatever. And then healthy eating, nutrition, and fitness routines and gym stuff for our men. A lot of our men go work and they work hard, right? And sometimes it's a little tough to get into the gym or do something for your health, or just even eating healthy. If you work a hard job, eating healthy and drinking lots of water is what you need, right? And even that will be a workout for you for the day, and then you can enjoy your evening doing something else for yourself, some self-care things, right? And
Right.
yeah.
Right. That's incredible. And is there anybody supporting, like, do you have your reserve, government, anybody supporting because I've noticed you be a part of a lot of really big events. Like, who are some of those people that you essentially want to give a shout out to? Like, is there support in those senses that you're like, hey, man, these are people that really took me here? Or, is there anybody out there that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, for sure. There's tons of like right now I'm in Cold Lake First Nation, and it's a Dene Nation. I'm Cree, and they still brought me out here and to learn a little bit about their language too. I ask questions all the time. I'm just that type of person. But there's places like that I've been to, a high level area, Beaver Nation, Hobie in my area, Louis Bull, things like that. I like to give a shout out to them, and also Saskatchewan. Like FSIN is they do a lot for the province of Saskatchewan and STC, and they had me there. Saskatoon Tribal Council had me there to do some speaking for the youth, and MLTC, Meadow Lake Tribal Council, they had me do one of my biggest speaking events where there's like 500 people. Like it was crazy.
Okay. Good for you, man.
I'm thankful for all of them. I'm thankful for every reserve that brings me to their communities. To help out with, whether it's just giving haircuts. Sometimes I just travel around and just give haircuts. They don't bring the program. It's just getting that one-on-one connection with them. Then right? Them sitting in my chair and cutting their hair for the day, and speaking to them there. And sometimes I do a little speaking session after, but even majority of the time I just go there to cut hair and just have that conversation one on one with the guys, right? That's helping them, look good and feel a little bit better about themselves if they're going through some stuff, right? And being able to talk about it, right?
All right, welcome back once again. We had a bit of a technical issue with my headphones. I'm sorry, they ran out of juice. Yeah, sorry, continue on with the program, some of the people who have supported, and yeah, just to be appreciation almost.
Yeah, just definitely everybody that's helped me get to where I'm at. The teachers at Lakeland, and even getting down to that, right? And
Nice.
especially my wife and the communities that brought me out there. As far as Lutsuke, Northwest Territories, I've been right by the Great Slave Lake. There, I was able to travel out that way, and who I've never would have thought I would be out that way, right? But I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that, and for my wife and her, how my story gets out there, and my program is through her TikTok and all the computer stuff she does, because as you know, we had troubles with me trying to get on here. I'm not that good with that technical stuff, so um,
Yeah, we
you
made
know
it.
and just the communities and the people that are in my life and the good friends like yourself for even trying to help me promote this type of stuff and how you got good things going on. And just keep communicating and connecting with everybody that wants to, hop on board and, and help us work on our men, and work on people in general, to get better and healthy and know that there's another side to to life, the good side, and it's always possible. It's there. You just got to go. You just got to take it. You got to take the time. It's small steps, right? And learning that every little step that you accomplish is a like winning a championship, right? And continuing to do that good feeling and that good life, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, I feel like there's always a time in I feel like people that grew up in different neighborhoods, humble beginnings, always end up sort of in a place where you have a crossroads where you essentially choose, I'm gonna be good and I'm gonna do good things and I'm gonna fight for good, or I'm gonna continue down a bad path. And
Mm.
I do find that, when you talked about your turning point, that was a place for you. I found that same thing too, going, hey, like, do I really want to live that life? Do I like that feeling? Do I like those people sort of and the effect that they've had on me? Or do I really feel like there's better things I could be doing for more people? And, when I was younger, I worked with the youth as well. And that's just a reminder to go, hey, like, don't forget there's a lot of support and impact that needs to happen on that side of things too. So I'm so happy, and I love that we're able to do this. I love the work you're doing, and I think I said that from the beginning. So just keep at it, and you know, I'm sure one day I'll be able to support you in other ways too. But how do you scale this? Like, how do you plan to make this bigger, or is the plan to make it bigger, or do you like what you're doing, or do you plan, like, what is the future goals for the program? And of course, you want to have a place in Lloyd for your wife and yourself for gym and barber shop, but like a beauty studio, I guess. But like for the program itself, do you have future goals for it and places you want to take it?
Uh, yep, I do. Like I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. Like the rate it's going right now. I'm not one that needs to be make a bunch of money or anything. I'm just one that wants to help out and wants to continue to do what I'm doing. And I do about 2 to 3 of these jobs a month at times, and sometimes I don't have one, and then I'll cut hair from, and that's why we want to open up the shop, or I'll make shirts. We'd make shirts and stuff for both my wife and I, and finding other things that I can invest into in my free time, right? So,
Mhm.
but eventually, I'd love for it to just even become bigger than it is, right? I'd love to have like a team of barbers or a team of people that travel with me to go do and there's people that do that, right? And I would like to have a group of men come with me, and we can maybe a massage dude, or someone that whitens teeth, or something like for health and everything, right? Or a nutritionist that knows a lot more than I do, and things like that. So that's one of my bigger goals, and to travel farther. Like I've been for the provinces that surround Saskatchewan, right? And now I'd like to expand more and get more involved, and maybe if it becomes something bigger, or I can have a spot in Lloydminster and people can come to me type thing too, right? So that's the goal, because we all do get older, and it'd be nice by the time I'm 50 or whatever, I can host a couple of where I'm from, and people can come to where we are, right? And we can maybe have like hopefully like something set up to where it's gym and everything, like a hair, just a self-care place, right? And that's one of my bigger goals.
Yeah. No, that's I'm down for, by the way. If
Yeah,
you need a group, I'm down.
yeah,
I love that thought and the idea, and that makes a lot of sense. You have a group of people who can specialize in each of those parts.
yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm so down for that. But just kind of in closing now, it's pretty clear finding the right woman and the right partner to be a part of your life is, you know, essentially a game changer and a life changer.
Mhm.
Tell me about, and first off, I'd love to have your wife on here if that'd
Yeah,
be okay at some point in time. I think she's
she'll be down one day. Yeah, she's
I'm sure she's got stuff
she's
going on,
been
but
doing it before. Yeah.
Okay,
This is
perfect.
my first one, but
She's been at it for a while.
she'll have background drop. She'll have
Okay, yeah.
not this peaking drop here. Looks like peaking, huh?
So tell me about tell me about the biggest ways that she impacted you through this process. Tell me about it's clear there's unconditional love there, that she really had your back. And then maybe end with a message to her.
Well, the biggest impact she had on me is just the way she loves me. Obviously, the way she shows me that she cares about me, and but her hustler mentality is off the chain. You know, like meaning working and doing other things, looking for other things to make money, or looking for other things to help with our health or whatever it is. You know, she's always on the ball, right? She's always got something going. Like she's a TikTok sensation or whatever, or not sensation, a TikTok influencer for a bunch of ladies and a bunch of whoever followers, and so she's always on the go. So her way of she's been a single mom for quite some time before we met, and so she had her struggles, right? And listening to her story is even more inspiring to me than my story is sometimes, right? And it's just like coming from where she came from the res, and the tough life that she had to deal with, and having a son at the same time, and the abuse that she went through, and all those things, and still to be who she is, and how she's become something. And her brand is, she has a brand that that I just added to, right? She already had a brand, right? So it's just her her drive and her inspiration and her love for me is what I know that keeps me motivated and keeps me on the right track too, right? Like if I'm waking up a little bit late, she's on top of me. Get up, let's go. Gym time. Like this morning, she went to the gym and I went to go eat breakfast. Like, and I just went. I came back. I went ate after I ate. I went lift some weights, and but because she was in there, and it just made me think like, what am I eating? Why don't I go work out with her? So just those little things, right? And that she's like my captain of the team, and I'm thankful for her because she's a great leader and she's a great woman, and I love her so much, and that's why I married her, right? And I just see nothing but more great things coming for her as well, because she's nonstop, right? She's just always thinking of good things for to help women out and to help you know with the business and whatnot. So she's my inspiration, and she always will be, and that's why we're married. And I just look forward to the future with her, and that I love her, and things like that.
Appreciate you, man. The next message I'm going to ask for is a message to the youth, man. A message to the people out there that you really want to impact, help, and affect.
Well, my message would be just go for it. Don't we all go through some tough times? It's we all have our own story. Okay, we all know what's right and what's wrong. So we all need to go in that right direction and following that right direction and staying on that path. Being strong, learning how to say no, learning to pick your crowd. You know, learning to learning to know who really cares about you. You know, whether it's your friends, your family. Well, those are the people you want around you, and never not to give up. You know, I've been like you guys heard my story. It's been up and down, and now that I'm just keep going up, nothing but good things have been coming for me, and that's on my heart, and I'm thankful for that. Just follow your heart, make your goals. Once you make those goals, just continue to knock them off every time. It doesn't just happen overnight. A lot of the time you just gotta, but remember that it's gonna happen, and that you gotta just take it one day at a time, and that life's good after, to keep pushing forward, and you know live life to the fullest.
That's a great message, my friend. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. I appreciate that we're able to share this moment as well. This is really important to me. And when I had the idea of bringing this podcast to life, you were right on the top of that list. So I appreciate what you do. And I hope that, there's nothing but success for you, your wife, your family. And I hope that everything can continue going forward. So Thank you, brother.
You as well, bro. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. Really do.
Yeah,
Nice talking with you for real.
yeah,
That
yeah. It's
smile.
been good.
Okay, bro.